Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us today, and welcome to the Salesforce Release Readiness Live, the admin preview. My name is Rebecca Sarr, and I'm on the admin relations team, a team dedicated to your success as an awesome admin. We're doing that today by breaking down the Winter 20 release and giving you the top cool features for admins. I have an amazing panel lined up to share the greatest and latest with you. Now, we'll be covering a lot of new functionality, which means you probably have a lot of cool questions for us. And we want to hear them. So take note while everyone's presenting, and we'll be sure to answer them. And to get into the details about how you can answer or ask your questions, let's talk to Rachel Mincarelli.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, wherever you are joining us from in the world. We are so excited that you're watching this live broadcast with us, and we're really looking forward to engaging with you online while we're live. So there are two ways that you can do that. The first is that you can join us on Twitter. Tweet us your shout-outs, your shorter questions, reactions, and of course, your GIFs. Be sure to share those during the broadcast with the hashtag #SalesforceLive and hashtag #AwesomeAdmin. We are, of course, at Salesforce Admins, no I. So when you tweet us on there, we'll see your questions. Also, if you go onto the Trailblazer community and you join us in the Release Readiness Trailblazers group, also use hashtag #SalesforceLive. Tweet us or share us your deeper, more discussion-building questions in that group, and we will add them to the list. And during our Q&A sessions, we'll do our best to get to all of them. Back to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, so before we get started, I do have to remind you to please make any purchasing decisions based on currently available features of functionality. Now, we're mainly talking about features of the Winter 20 release, but we do have our experts on who may talk about some roadmaps, so definitely keep this in mind. All right, so what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to go and dive into Lightning Flow, reports and dashboards, security, and new key productivity features for admins and end users. And who is going to be talking about these amazing features with us? Well, I'm excited to introduce our panel right here. So let's go down the line. Please give us your name, what you're excited about for Winter 20, and how about, so we get to know you a little bit more, your favorite season.
All right. I am Shannon Hale. I am product manager for Flow Builder. And gosh, Flownetics, I have so much stuff to talk to you about in Winter 20 that I can't even pick a favorite. My favorite season is pretty much any season except fall.
Why is that, Shannon?
Because there's no release in fall.
Aha. Good answer.
Hey everyone, I'm Anusha Sirpenny. I'm a product manager for reports and dashboards. It's my first admin preview, so super excited to talk about all the cool innovation in reports and dashboards for Winter 20. And my favorite season is the holiday season.
Cool, me too.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura Pelkey. I'm on Salesforce's security team, and I'm here to talk to you about security. There's a lot of updates this release I'm super excited to talk about. And my favorite season, I have to say, is summer. I love the warm weather. Hotter the better.
Hard to argue with that.
Hi everyone, my name is Leanne Reimel. I'm on the admin team. And let's see, my favorite season, I think, is winter, because we've got a release every winter. We're usually getting ready for Dreamforce, which is really exciting. We get to meet our community, and I love skiing. And I'm the opposite of Laura. I love cold weather. I like having snow. And I am excited to be here today and talk about some of the great features coming for admins to roll out to your users, to customize, and to get hands-on within Winter 20.
Why, thank you. Thanks for that introduction. I am super excited to dive into all of this great content now, so let's get started.
Alrighty. Lightning Flow. So we have made a lot of changes in Flow Builder in Winter 20, and I am just going to skip past that whole list and jump right into the demo because I like demos. And I swipe the wrong direction every time. All right, so starting from the top, we have a new Lightning list view with all of the things that you would expect from Lightning list views. And when we click into our into our flow from the list view, so just to back up a little bit here, I visited you all in spring. When we first released Flow Builder, we had Cloudflow Designer for a long, long time, and some of the things we were trying to do with Flow Builder were really to make things a little easier for admins. We'd heard that Cloudflow Designer was intimidating. We wanted to really up our usability of ease of use, and we also want to give you more power. So some of the things that we've done are, in summer, we added undo and redo and duplicate. Very handy things that you were very loud and clear on the need for. Thank you. Winter, we've done a few things. We now have 2 lines of text for each label, so you can get more information in there. We have gotten rid of that weird little keyboard thing for panning. Now all you have to do is click and drag the canvas to pan. Instead, we replaced that with a new little button, which is the drag select button. And so you simply click that button, drag and select all your nodes, and then you can move them or delete them as you wish. Now, did anyone notice that one of those nodes moved that doesn't normally move?
What?
The start node is now movable, and in fact, for auto-launched flows, you would go into the start node to configure scheduled flows, which I'm not going to talk about right now. Jason Teller is going to talk about them in the platform RRL on Tuesday, and you should definitely check that out. So, let's actually get into the screens. The big one for screens is that we have, well, there's a couple of big ones for screens. One of the big ones, though, is that we have added a new lookup component. So now you can actually use the lookup component and your users can find things exactly like they do everywhere else in Salesforce. And the other thing that's kind of interesting about that is, you know how in screens sometimes you don't want to show everything at the same time, right? Here we have a toggle button. It's called Choose Account Manually, and when you toggle it, it means you want to choose a different account. Well, you don't want to display that lookup field when that's not selected, right? You don't need to see it. So normally what you would do is you would sort of do the toggle, and then you would do a decision, and depending on the decision, you would go to a different screen, and that's kind of a lot of work. Well, now you can actually use a new feature called conditional field visibility. I can go onto my lookup, and I can set component visibility. By default, everything's always visible, and I can choose that I want to only do this when certain conditions are met. Now, in this case, I want to make sure that we only show it when my choose account manually toggle is set. So I can just start by typing choose. And you'll notice that previously, if you've ever used the Lightning components inside of Flow Builder, that you had to create a variable. And then you would have to come back and set the variable up with the output variables. Well, we now have this concept of automatic output variable setting. And so what happens is when you use this, and it just shows up sort of at the bottom here, manually assign the variables. When you use this, you can basically treat your components just like you might an S object. When I drill into this, I see all of the fields that are available to me, and in this case, I'm going to check value. And so you don't have to go off and create variables, which is kind of huge for things, especially like dependent pick lists, where you usually have 3 or 4 different variables coming out of it. And then for our value, we are going to only show this when things are true. And we're going to click done. And done. Now, I'm going to save this. And there are 2 things. One, let's debug it and see if it works. Suppose I could have run it. So we see here we have our, well, I should have made that bigger. Sorry, folks. We see here we have our choose a different account. And when it's enabled, here's our account lookup. And if I'm looking for, let's see, well, let's take Christine Penn here. It shows you recents just like you would expect the lookup to. And you can just choose that and move on. So you don't have to go off and basically run a query, create a pick list that has all the fields in it, or manually do it anymore. So that is swell. And then the last thing I want to note here is sometimes you're done and you save and it's like, hey, that's great. I want to activate this. Well, now you actually don't have to go back to the detail page to activate it. You can simply click activate and you're done. And that pretty much sums, I mean, there's more, right? There's so much more. Whoops, flipped the wrong way again. Flow like a pro, it wouldn't be, every time I come on this, I like to have a couple of quick tips. Lookup component, one of the things that throws people is that they think that they just choose accounts and it will show them accounts. It actually has to be tied to an existing lookup field on an existing object. So in this case, you would be pointing to the account ID field on the contact object. And the other thing is, this one's a little embarrassing, sorry. When you add a screen component to a screen, like what I just showed with the toggle button, if I had just added the toggle button, you might notice it doesn't show up right away. We're fixing it. But for now, you have to close the screen properties using done and then reopen it, and then it will show up. It's a little bit weird, but we'll totally get that fixed. More highlights. I mean, we have so many. Scheduling is another one that, as I said, Jason's going to talk about. Rich text and templates is another big one that people are excited about. Process Builder, for all you Process Builder fans, we now support account team members in Process Builders. You can create new records, modify records, and actually trigger off of changes to those records, which are pretty exciting. And next best action, we have a whole bunch of new functionality, bringing in some of the stuff that we had in Flow Builder, like undo, redo. And again, Jason is totally going to cover that on Tuesday in the Platform Release Readiness webinar. And then the last thing I would like to highlight is Idea Exchange. We delivered almost 25,000 points in Winter 20, which is actually pretty amazing. And I'm just going to call it, I mean, most of these I talked about. I just want to mention this last one, new Cloudflow associated variable. It only has 10 points, but every time I talk to people, they mention this one to me. This is the one where when you create a new resource, it doesn't show up in the picker automatically. You have to go and select it. Well, now it automatically shows up in the picture and you don't have to select it. So somehow it only has 10 votes, but everyone is constantly telling me that they want it fixed. So it's fixed. Yay! Learning more about Flow Builder, we have a couple of trailheads, trails that you can check out. We have a whole series of getting started flows on the Salesforce Admin's blogs site. They're a little out of date now. They were for spring, but they're still relevant. And also check out Flow Solutions on App Exchange for Flow actions, components, and templates. And check into the Release Readiness webinar for Platform on Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. I loved seeing that demo, and I really think some of those small UI changes are going to just make the world of difference.
We kind of call them small but mighty.
Small but
right?
mighty.
They don't
I love
seem
that.
like much, but when you actually get in there, like I've had so many people talk to me particularly about the activate button. They're like, whoever put that in, thank you so much. It's saved me so much time. So
Yes.
it's all good.
Super
We
exciting.
got more coming. Stay tuned for spring.
Thank you. Let's move on to Anusha.
All right, awesome. So a lot of interesting things coming from reports and dashboards with the Winter 20 release. We have right to left now. So for languages such as Arabic, Hebrew, we have full right to left support. So when you're editing a report, you should try it out. It's almost like mind flipping because it's like everything's the other side. So it's kind of fun, even if you're not, in the right to left language. So we have it in dashboards. You could see the charts and the labels also in right to left. And in reports, we have the whole layout and labels and charts as well. The table is not right to left yet, and that's coming in the Spring 20 release. Row-level formulas is going generally available. We've been hearing a lot of good things about row-level formulas. So now there's no opt-in anymore. It's available to anyone. Anyone can create a row-level formula. Excited for field-to-field filtering beta and unique row count beta. We always want to work on these, so I'm super happy the community prioritized those features for us as part of True to the Core program. I'll be giving updates and a demo on that shortly. Text wrapping. So that's one of the things that's kind of missing on the run page. We had resizable columns for a few releases, but we heard from the community that text wrapping, at least on the text fields, would be really valuable. So we now have that with the Winter 20 release. Any text field columns, such as text area, rich text area, long text area, any of those are automatically wrapped, so that it's easier to view your report. We also have a new enhancement on the Lightning on mobile app. We haven't done much on reports and dashboards on the mobile app, but what we're doing here is, as many of you know, the mobile app is now enhanced, right, with the Winter 20 release. So for reports and dashboards, we've added lists. So you can now see report and dashboard lists, such as like all reports created by me. Those now show up in the mobile app, and we are hoping that's going to improve the findability when you're on the go. And we've closed actually over 100,000 idea exchange points. So, yeah,
You
sorry,
win.
Sean. Yeah. There's just more points on reports and dashboards. They've just been around forever, I guess. Yeah. So, but part of it is like we've combined some ideas together too. So that's why they've gotten so big. All right, so now let's drill into row-level formulas. So what is a row-level formula for those of you that have not been paying attention to last release? So you can calculate values on every record in a report. So you don't have to create custom formula field or export to Excel to make that quick calculation. We're trying to empower our business users to do more calculations on the Lightning Report Builder. With that being said, I know it's quite sad, but you can only have one. The reason for that is we want to keep the performance. Performance is a really high priority for us, keeping that runtime performance. So with standard operational dashboards and reports, we innovate, but we also keep performance in mind. So we're always trying to balance both of those. That's why we have one row-level formula field per report, but we're looking at ways on how we can maybe increase that in the future. The types supported. So in the formula itself, we're supporting numbers, date, time, text, and pick list. In this release, we added pick list support. We've heard pick list fields such as stage and type could be useful when creating the formula. So we have that, but you do have to wrap it in text. So it's a little bit counterintuitive, but that's the way. We're using the same formula field engine, so we're hoping whenever you create a custom formula field, you kind of use that syntax. So it's the same syntax, even when you're creating a row-level formula. Now, row-level formula field is also first-class citizen. So that means you can group on it, you can filter on it. You could also use it in charts. So if you have like average days to close, you can now put that in your chart. And it can also be used in tables. So let's say you created this really handy row-level formula, but most of your users are actually using a dashboard. You can put it in the dashboard table as a column. All right, field-to-field filtering beta. So what is a field-to-field filter? Well, it has over 50,000 idea exchange points, but the main purpose is you're wanting to filter reports by comparing one report field with another report field in the report. And this is a new type of filter. So far in reporting world, right, we've had filter by value. You can type in a value and we filter by that, like a specific date. You also can filter by a number, right? But what we've been hearing is that it's useful if you have a lot of fields on your report to actually filter by another field also. So it's a new kind of filter that we're introducing. And it works with filter logic, and all those things. And we're supporting up to 4 field-to-field filters per report. So much better than just one row-level formula, but yeah, everything has a limit. And field types that are supported are numbers and dates. So we've been hearing that these are the most popular. So we're starting off with that, and we're hoping that addresses most of the use cases. But we'll be looking into adding more types in the future. And you can edit a field-to-field filter in the Lightning Report Builder or on the run page. So let's say you have a user that doesn't have edit access to the report, but they can still edit that field-to-field filter, pick another field basically to filter on the run page. Joined reports are not supported. So unfortunately, this is a performance limit we've hit into because joined reports could have a lot of blocks, right? Different types of reports. Too many filters can dramatically increase the runtime. So we're not supporting it there. And also report types that have with or without relationships are not supported. So an example of that is like opportunities with or without cases. So we're not going to be doing field-to-field filtering on that. Unique row count. So this is I think the most exciting feature, the one I'm personally really satisfied with actually, with what we built here. So there's probably no more need for power of one. So I know. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Steve Mollis.
Yes, I know. So there's most likely no need for power of one. I think most of the power of one use cases can be handled with unique row count. You do a show or hide on a unique row count field. So it's going to show you, it's going to calculate the unique number of field values per column. It can be used on any type of field, right? It could be an ID, it could be a pick list, it could be a text date, but we can't do it on text area, encrypted, or blobs because we don't know what's unique or not with those. But super exciting feature. Definitely try it out. You can have up to 3 unique counts in your report. And we're supporting all formats. So really good news for joint report users also, it's going to be there. And it this release, we're supporting it in charts. So you can use it as a metric in your report chart or your dashboard charts, but it's not going to be in the dashboard table yet. Also, you can't reference that unique row count in a custom summary formula, but we're planning on adding that in the next release so that you can actually take a look at unique count, per grouping with the whole record count. All right, so let's go ahead and actually jump right to a demo now. And let's make sure I get this right. And I didn't. Okay, that's fine. Oops.
Oops, wrong way. There we go.
3 swipes. All right. Okay, so let's assume I'm a sales manager persona now, right? And I'm viewing my favorite kind of report, the opportunity report, pipeline report. And now with the Winter 20 release, right? Let's see what I could do. First of all, I have a text area field here. So I can now, if you notice, if I resize it, it's going to go ahead and wrap automatically. And there we go. And so now I can see those next steps on my opportunity records much better. I don't have to hover on it or try to export it and all those things. And a few weeks ago, I actually created a row level formula field here because I'm trying to analyze in my pipeline, like what are those records that have been lying around for a while, right? So I want to see what are those opportunities that are taking a long time to close. So I created this handy row level formula here that's just calculating days between close date and created date. Now, the one thing is that in the previous release, I couldn't filter on it. So I wasn't able to understand what's greater than 1,000. But now let's see how I can do more things with that row level formula. So I have the row level formula here. I could do a quick preview now too. So I can see that it is close date minus created date. It's subtracting between those two dates. I can edit that if I wanted to. It just brings back that formula editor. But now I can actually do more things to it. So I can actually summarize on it, right? So maybe I want to see the average days to close. So let's go ahead and add that. And as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to actually add a filter here. So for my days to close formula, I want to look at super old opportunity records that are taking a really long time to close. So let's just say if it's greater than 1,000 days, I want to take a look at what's happening with those opportunities. So now it's showing me all those records. And one other thing I can do is in the chart properties, right? In the x-axis, I have this I have this new metric now, average days to close. Let's actually look at our data with that. And now let's go ahead and run this report, see how that's looking like. What is our average days to close? Okay, so for these old ones, the average is, you can see right here, it's 1,200. That's crazy. And I actually have a next step on this one. So opportunity for Willis. So they're evaluating multiple vendors, and we need to understand how can we differentiate. Maybe that's one of the reasons why it's taking so long. And I see the lead source was actually an employer referral. Now this gets me thinking what are our lead sources? Maybe I need to analyze my data by lead source. Does that influence or does that correlate to how long these deals are closing? So now let's go actually edit this report again. But one other thing I wanted to, before I do that, I just realized in my filter, I want to make sure I'm looking at the right records. One thing that, my org has been actually dissatisfied with is sometimes we entered wrong dates in. So what I can do is I can actually add a field-to-field filter to make sure that the created date is actually less than the close date, so we don't have any incorrect data. So now let's go ahead and add that field-to-field filter. So now I have this option to filter by a value or filter by field. So let's go ahead and filter by field. It actually picks close date by default, which is great, but I can add any other field here. So let's go ahead and pick close date. And let's make sure that created date is actually less than, so we don't have any inaccurate opportunity records that we're looking at. So, okay, these are the ones I care about. Now, what I want to do is, okay, I have this lead source here, right? Maybe let's actually switch our groupings. So instead of stage, let's try to analyze our data by lead source. So what we could do is I have this option to show unique count. So I can take a look at like what are like the unique lead sources coming in for these opportunities. So let's go ahead and show that unique count. And it works, on every grouping level. So I can see for each stage actually what are the unique lead sources that are coming in. The other thing I can do is I can actually change the chart. Rather than days to close, let's actually do unique count. That's going to help me analyze my unique count better. Now let's run this report again. Awesome. So I see, the previous one, right? So I see that there's 8 type of unique lead sources for my opportunities. And now I'm trying to understand like the opportunities that are not doing that well, right? Like the average here is like 1,300. Average here is like 1,600. And these have like so many different types of lead sources. Now that's kind of an interesting insight. Like does, having a lot of lead sources, is it lagging our opportunity records, right? And this is something I want to talk to my sales managers with and understand like, I want to dive in deeper, but this is a good starting point for me to start that discussion. And one other thing I can do is, I have a sales manager dashboard that I manage all my records with. So what I can do is I can actually add this report chart to that dashboard too. Let's see how that looks like. Let's go to my sales manager dashboard. And I can choose to bring in the same chart settings. So just like, I can choose this one, or I can actually pick a different one. So if I wanted to do a metric, I have these ones. It looks like I didn't save my report, but if I save that report, I can actually pick those unique counts right into my dashboard. And so those are some of the exciting things coming on reports and dashboards for winter 20.
Wow, Anusha, that's a lot of really great stuff for admins. I'm already thinking of different ways I want to change my reports with the field-to-field filter, which is really cool. I think admins are going to maybe be spending the weekend looking up at how they can switch up their reports. Super exciting. And I know I've been seeing questions come in, so let's take a moment to go to Rachel and see about some questions for our panelists.
Hey again, everyone. So we have a lot of gifts. You guys are incredible. Keep them coming. I'm trying to say hi to everybody when I can. I'm trying to get your questions loaded up for our amazing panel too. So bear with me while I'm doing that. But a couple people who are on here are so excited. Rebecca, I wanted to share with you guys. Squire, hey Squire, says the report and dashboard enhancements make my admin team look like superheroes every single day. Keep those improvements coming. He's a big heart gif. And we have so many more like that. People are losing it over field-to-field filtering. So I think you were right about their weekend plans. So we have a couple questions in here. I'm going to kick it off with one for Shannon. We have, is there a keyboard shortcut for drag selection, like undo, redo, duplicate, etc.?
There is not right now, but it is something that we're working on.
Okay, awesome. How about one for Anusha?
Safe harbor.
Anusha, are report and dashboard folders shown in the new mobile app now or just lists?
It's just lists. So, but we've added a lot more attributes to the list. So you can actually see like what is the folder name, what is like the last modified date and all those things in your mobile. So it's easier to find which report or dashboard.
Awesome, thanks. We have one more for Shannon. Is it going to be possible to also schedule process builder processes?
You always got the hard ones. Probably not. And here's why. So one of the things that we did in Flow Builder to kind of make all this work in winter 20 is we wanted to be able to actually handle triggers at all, or events, things that trigger things. So for Process Builder, you have things like record changed or edited, created or edited. You have platform events and various other things. But one of the things that people find confusing right now is like, which tool do I use? Do I use Process Builder? Do I use Flow Builder? And so one of the things that you're going to see, very forward-looking statement here, but one of the things you're going to see is we're going to be starting to move a lot more Process Builder functionality into Flow Builder. Some of the advantages there are that Flow Builder has much better debugging tools. It's really hard to debug a process. It'll be less confusing. We're working really hard to bring the ease of use of Flow Builder to the same level as Process Builder. I think it's going to be a really good move for us.
Great, thanks, Shannon. So Anusha, we have some people wondering if there is any info you can provide about trails on Trailhead for the new field-to-field filtering features.
Yeah, so we're updating all our trails actually. So the one that we have on Lightning reports and dashboards, that's getting updated to include field-to-field filtering. So definitely check that out.
Okay, wonderful. If you're up for it, I have one more for you.
Yeah, let's take one more.
So Anusha, when will reports and dashboards be supported on the Lightning Recycle bin?
Oh yeah, it's a good question. So the Lightning Recycle bin is out in winter 20, but unfortunately reports and dashboards are not supported yet. But we are planning to support it for the spring 20 so that you can actually recover it in Lightning.
Great, cool. All right, well, for everybody that's joining us online, please keep those questions rolling in. If you're afraid that we might not get to it on our live segment, we will be in the hashtag on Twitter and the Trailblazer community getting to your questions after the broadcast. So just keep them coming and we will answer as many as we can.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Now we can keep moving on to our third topic of the day, security.
Yay! Woo! So excited. Thank you. Thank you guys. All right, so let's talk about security. So we have a bunch of updates in this release around permission sets, so I wanted to talk about that first. So just a quick recap about permission sets if people are not that familiar. Permission sets are the best way to control access rights in your org. So you definitely want to pay attention to these, continue evaluating these on a regular basis. So the first feature I want to talk about are permission set groups. This is in beta. It was piloted in spring 19, but this release includes a new user interface for creating and managing permission set groups. So it's really exciting. You can assign users a single permission set group instead of multiple permission sets. This is going to save you a ton of work and just make security kind of a default, which is the ideal. You can remove individual permissions from a group with the muting permission set feature to ensure that permissions don't exceed a user's user roles. So previously you would have to assign each permission set separately to your users, but with permission set groups you can combine the permission sets and assign the group to the appropriate employees. And this permission set group contains combined permissions of all the permission sets that you include. So that's super exciting. The next update is around controlling users' ability to run individual flows using profiles and permission sets. Shannon, flows, very exciting. Not to steal your thunder.
I was going to bring it up if you didn't. I was just going to say, and you can also do this.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So this is exciting. Previously, users with the run flows, manage flows, or flow user permission could run all flows. So now you can control which user flows can run by restricting access to enabled profiles or permission sets. And you can also enable access to multiple flows for a single profile or create and assign permission sets. You can also control who gets read access to custom metadata types. You can use profiles and permission sets to assign read access to users for custom metadata types. Admins with the Customize Application permission can modify permission sets and profiles to grant direct read API access to a specific custom metadata type. And now you can grant API read access to specific metadata types for users and user profiles, even if they don't have the Customize Application permission. More permission sets, yes, so exciting. With this release, you will also be able to manage access to permission sets, profiles, and password resets with session security level policies. You can require that users have a high assurance session level before accessing certain setup pages or objects, and you can even completely block users from some sensitive operations. Manage access you can manage access to permission sets, profiles, password resets, data export, and health check by modifying session security level policies. And the last update around permission sets, you can delegate management of permission sets in Lightning communities. So this is an update specifically for Lightning communities. External user administrators can now manage the permission sets of other external users on their account, which means no more duplicate profiles. And I wanted to, since we're talking about permission sets, just briefly talk about the principle of least privilege. This is a fundamental tenet of information security, if people aren't familiar with it. It means that users should always have the least number of permissions necessary to do their job. Why, you might ask? This prevents unauthorized access of sensitive records and information by only granting privileges to those people who absolutely require access. This is a great opportunity to remind all of our admins that are watching to make sure your users don't have the system administrator profile or modify all permissions. I know that sounds obvious, but it's just a good thing to continue evaluate and always keep the principle of least privilege in mind. Okay, let's move on to more ways to secure your data and user access. So firstly, you can now require verification when community users change their email address. This update will improve the security of your communities by ensuring that the user actually wants to take this action and it's not just someone posing as the user. So how does this work? When a community user changes an email address, you can have an email sent to the new address for confirmation. After they click the link to confirm, the address change will take effect. We do recommend that you enable email confirmations to improve the security of your communities. Also, a new update for communities, you can create your own page to register a user's verification methods. When external users register a verification method, either a phone number or an email address, we will display a verify page for users to enter their code. You can replace the default verify page with your own to reflect your brand or meet your corporate guidelines. So this is great. You can make sure your branding is up to date and make it recognizable to your users, which is ideal. In addition to creating this verify page for registering verification methods, you can create your own verify pages for signing up new users and logging into external users. And logging in external users. And the last update for this slide is for Shield and event monitoring customers. If you have Shield and event monitoring, you can now track user identity verification events, which is really exciting. This allows you to capture information about events related to identity verification. It also allows you to determine the activity that prompted identity verification, which could be an action like logging into Salesforce, connecting to a connected app, or connecting to Salesforce Authenticator. It allows you to determine where the user's IP address is physically located and the security policy required for user identity verification. You can also determine if the status of the event, like whether the verification process started, if it was successful, and if not, why it failed. So that's also really exciting. And lastly, there is a critical update in Winter 20 around TLS 1.1 disablement. So I wanted to talk about that. This brings me back to a couple years ago when I was on an admin webinar talking about TLS 1.0 disablement. So I'm really glad we can talk about this now.
Yeah.
You're like, I remember that, definitely. So just a refresher for those of you who might not be familiar with encryption protocols. TLS stands for Transport Layer Security. It's an encryption protocol that provides privacy and data integrity between two applications that are communicating with each other. And it's also used for web browsers and other apps. Salesforce uses TLS as a key component to enhance the security of our web and API connections. So this is super important. And this update applies to Lightning Experience, Classic, and all versions of the Salesforce app in all editions. So it's really important that people take action. And what is the action? We're asking you to make the switch to TLS 1.2. Salesforce will start disabling TLS 1.1 encryption protocol for sandbox orgs today and for production orgs on October 25th. You should already have all of this information. Shouldn't be new, but since it's a critical update, I really wanted to touch on this today. After TLS 1.1 disablement, this will prevent anyone still using TLS 1.1 from accessing some Salesforce services like websites and Salesforce communities, customer and partner portals, force.com sites, and site.com. You may also want to check your browser's encryption. Users will experience issues accessing Salesforce if you have disabled the encryption protocols or if a browser other than the supported browsers is being used to connect to Salesforce. This is a great opportunity to partner with your company's IT team to ensure that your browsers and Salesforce instance are all up to date. Okay, so I want to, since we just were talking about TLS, I want to show you the quickest demo ever, just how to activate this critical update. So once you're in setup, you go to critical updates. And scroll down to find require TLS 1.2 or higher. And then just hit activate. So voila, you're done. You're activated. Super easy. Quickest demo of all time. I probably win an award for that.
Amazing. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks, Laura. I think it's so important, right, that all of our admins are security-minded admins and really have that principle of least access front of mind as they're taking advantage of all the awesome permission set features, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about even more stuff that's coming for admins. I feel like we saw a ton of great features so far that admins are going to be able to take advantage of with Flow, with reports and dashboards, with new security features, so you can keep your org secure and be a security-minded admin. So we've got a few other highlights to share, even though some of my most favorite features I would say we've covered already. But I do want to share some of the features that we haven't talked about, and some of those are about user productivity. So as admins, I know I get really excited for some of those really admin-specific, builder-specific features, but in every release, there's also a ton of features that are specific for your end users to help them be more productive in Salesforce. And as admins, we have the opportunity to either maybe enable those features or help our users adopt those features, point them out to them as we're working with our users on adoption and usage of custom apps that we're building. So I do always like to highlight some of those great end user apps. I love Lightning Calendar, and Lightning Calendar has been getting a ton of feature releases the last 2 years, and we're still going with great new calendar features. So in Lightning Calendar, you now can, it's a much more collaborative experience in a lot of ways, because now that we've got resource calendaring, we've got public calendars. Now in Winter 20, we can also have availability calendars. So that's something that I'm excited about. My team uses Lightning Calendar quite a bit to schedule both maybe custom objects, like managing our content and things like that, but then also our own calendars and events. And so with availability on Lightning Calendar, you can see it's actually the screenshot that's on the slide. There's a swim lane for every calendar that you've selected that you're showing, and that includes other users' calendars. So if you have added one of your colleagues' calendar to your calendar, to your Lightning Calendar page, you'll be able to see that as well. Lightning Calendar is also getting more intuitive and more user-friendly with, it remembers now what view you had most recently, so it's getting stickier. So when you come back to Lightning Calendar, if you've got, I know Rebecca lives in Lightning Calendar, and so now when you come back to your calendar tab, if you were just, say, viewing the availability page, for example, for 3 colleagues that you work with quite a bit and a custom object that you work with quite a bit, it'll remember that. So we're making Lightning Calendar more and more usable and user-friendly. We also have new list view features. So in the last release, we had some great list view features around enhanced related lists, and we're still working on bringing awesome things to list views for you in Lightning. We heard you that printable list views in Lightning was something you wanted in order to be able to print out a hard copy. So that's now available in Lightning. But you can also do more with topics in list views. So if you haven't started using topics yet, especially topics in Lightning, I recommend checking it out. Topics are a great way to, if you're someone who likes to use tags quite a bit in Classic and use some of these ways to maybe mark different records, or to, whether it's for yourself or for yourself and your colleagues, like a collaborative effort, topics are a great way to do that. And you can now filter by topics on list views. So if you're viewing like a record or an object-specific tab in Lightning, you can start to use topics as one of the filter options to make some topic-specific list view filters. You can also do more on the topics page itself. So with Winter 20, in the past, if you clicked into topics in Lightning, you'd see every time that topic was mentioned in the chatter feed, right? Every time that came up, and that's been really useful. I know we use that a lot. But now, every time a topic or every topic that has been added to a record comes up in there's a new related tab on the topic page. So there's a standard component for topics, and you can add that to different record pages that you might be working quite a bit with topics on. And for example, like I added it for a project I was working on to opportunities. So if you add topics, the standard component, to the page, then you can actually tag that record with that topic, and then it'll show up on the related list for that topic page. So it's a really great way as well to work with topics. Let's talk about search. So we've got Smarter Search in beta in Winter 20. So Einstein Search is coming for Winter 20, and there is a ton that you can do with Einstein Search. You can assign specific search results, search layouts by profile. So we were just talking about perm sets and profiles. You can assign different search experiences by profile. You can actually have an interactive search experience right from that search bar. So in Einstein Search, you can get quick search results as well as interact to a certain degree with some records on those search results. So say following records or viewing more details, those kind of like hover details on specific records in search. So those features are in beta, and they are with Einstein Search. And there is a ton of features that I know I'm excited about that we've been using quite a bit internally with search. So these are some features to highlight for your admins or for your end users, but now let's talk about what we can look at for admins. Where is this field used? We now in Winter 20 have the ability, if you're viewing a custom field, you can see where it's used in Apex, in reports and dashboards. This is a super useful way to track, especially if you are an admin team, or if you're inheriting an org, if you're doing some org maintenance, if you work alongside a lot of other admins, to track where is this field used before you maybe make any changes to that. I know it's a feature that I wish I had when I had to do org audits and figure out, can I clean up some of these fields that we've had forever? Now you'll be able to check which fields are used where. In-app guidance is now GA as well. So with in-app guidance, as an admin, you can create those prompts for your users, and you can decide what parts of the app they should surface in, what objects they should surface in, how they should surface, how often, for what users. And it's really a tool for you as an admin to help drive that user adoption, to help drive that engagement, and help your users navigate around Salesforce. And one thing that's exciting about this with in-app guidance, we want to make it easy for you to create in-app guidance for your users. So we've looked at what are those most popular in-app guidance use cases, and we're actually working on a package of pre-built prompts that you're going to be able to install in your environments, and then you can modify and edit as needed for your users. But we took a wide look at what are those use cases that users are most benefiting from having in-app guidance or having some kind of tutorials built in or some direction built in. And we've packaged those prompts for you. And so stay tuned. We'll be sharing them on the admins channel shortly, as soon as they are available on the App Exchange. And the next one is Recycle Bin. I was going to go right to custom object limit. So Recycle Bin, we mentioned earlier.
Favorite.
You don't have to go back to Classic anymore for the Recycle Bin. So Recycle Bin is now available in Lightning, and it's better and it's easier to use than it was in Classic, because in Lightning you can personalize how you're working with it. So you can add it as a custom tab to your navigation, so you can personalize your navigation. If you do go back to Recycle Bin a lot, you could favorite it, so it's available in your favorites. So not only is Recycle Bin available, but I think it's a lot easier to navigate to and to work with than it was previously. So you'll have your personal Recycle Bin as well as your all org Recycle Bin, and it appears as kind of a Lightning list view. So you'll also be able to sort by all of the fields available on Recycle Bin items as well. And I almost skipped ahead here. I mentioned some packages earlier. We want you to use App Exchange and to be free to install awesome apps from the App Exchange. And many of those come with custom objects. We've raised our custom object limit again from 2,500 to 3,000. So that is just, I know that there's awesome adopters of AppExchange apps and that have built a lot of custom apps themselves. So now I just want to make sure everyone knows we've raised that limit again. And also Lightning on mobile. So we mentioned mobile a little bit earlier. We've been talking about mobile. Lightning on mobile is really exciting for admins, and I'm going to show a demo of it, but it gives you a ton of control as an admin over what that mobile experience is like for your users, using all those tools that you've gotten familiar with in Lightning, using components, using Lightning record pages. So we're going to be able to use those to control our mobile experience for our end users. And that's not all that's coming in Winter 20. So Lightning on mobile is how our admins are working with the new mobile app, but we have a new Salesforce mobile app for all of our customers. And it's really going to adjust how your users are able to, and improve how users are able to take their business with them everywhere on their mobile device. We know that most people are working on their mobile devices. They need their mobile devices to be intuitive, to be smart, to work with them the way that they're used to working with consumer apps on mobile. And so we've applied that really next generation experience to work fast with that app. So users log in and it knows who they are, it knows what they've looked at most recently. We've got voice-enabled features on the Salesforce mobile app. It's intelligent, so if you're using Einstein Analytics, you can access those in Salesforce mobile app and work with analytics in there, as well as Anusha mentioned, being able to access your Lightning dashboard and reports list views in the new Salesforce mobile app. And as I mentioned, there's that faster app development lifecycle, right? So you don't have to build entirely new custom pages or if you want to build that intuitive, customized experience as an admin for your users, you can do that in Lightning. And with that, I'm ready to show you what that looks like in Lightning. So we'll switch over to the demo here. So I'm starting in my Salesforce environment. And the first thing I want to make sure to point out, we're going to be focused on the Salesforce mobile app for this demo, is that you know where to start first with the Salesforce mobile app. And in setup, we have the Salesforce mobile app quick start. And the Salesforce mobile app quick start has everything that you need to get started. So we've got our overview of the Salesforce mobile app, but also a handy video and a checklist. So I've already started, just to be time sensitive, I've already started going through some of the steps here. But one of the first things we want to do is upgrade our admin tools. And we have this handy checklist of what we need to do to enable our users on Lightning on mobile and the new Salesforce mobile app. And the next one is permission sets. So Laura was talking about permission sets. We're using permission sets for granting access, for reducing access and granting security access. We're also using it to add access for specific features, including the new Salesforce mobile app. So I've already built a Salesforce mobile app permission set. There is instructions in here on exactly how to do that. It's very simple. I've already built that permission set and enabled specific sets of users for that new Salesforce mobile app. So this is how you can control who's accessing like one of the ways, those new pages that you're building. If you do want to say, roll out a couple of your users, your power users first, and maybe get some feedback and go through that cycle, that's a way that you can do that with permission sets. So let's take a look really quick at the actual mobile app. So I'm going to scroll over here. I've got my mobile on the right. And since it's enabled and since I have access, when I open the new Salesforce mobile app, I just want to orient you to what lives where now. So on the bottom, I have some of those kind of most used items for a mobile user. I've got Chatter, I've got my favorites, I've got a search button, maybe notifications, and at the top, if I go back to Chatter, at the top is now where those Chatter actions live, and that's where actions are living. So I've got my ability to change to post a file, to add a new event, those things, those actions that I have available to me on my global layout. So that is a different orientation than we had before. And at the bottom right, I've got my little hamburger for menu. I always call it a hamburger. I know it's like called something else, I'm sure.
I like that.
A hamburger and the waffle. So if I click the hamburger on the bottom right, this looks different, right? So this is now allowing us to navigate between different apps on our mobile because I have the app launcher. So if I click on the app launcher, I can see all of those apps that have been enabled for mobile in this org. Now, if you direct your attention on the screen back to the desktop layout, if we scroll down, that's where we got to upgrading our Lightning apps for mobile, because you can define exactly which of your Lightning apps are available for mobile and which are available for desktop. So as an admin, that's one of the first things you're going to want to look at and think about. I wouldn't necessarily recommend saying, okay, every single app that's available on desktop is available on mobile, maybe optimizing what are the ones that my users are going to be working with the most on mobile. You absolutely can just enable them all for mobile if you'd like as well. And so that's how we're able to track exactly which app. So I've got my Sunshine Chocolates, my Sales, and my Sunshine app are available for mobile. We also have an update pages for mobile. So let's take a look at what our pages look like in mobile first. So if I go into, if you're directing your attention on the side, on the mobile, and if I go into one of my mobile opportunity pages, I've got my Express Airlines Dessert Edition, and I'm viewing the desktop page in the center. And if I scroll down, this is what that out-of-the-box record page will look like. So if you don't do anything except for create the permission set for your users and apply that permission set to your users, this is what they will see. They will see that kind of standard default page. It has more fields are available for that compact layout, that highlights panel at the top. We've got our path is available. And then if I click in, I can see the details. I can see the chatter feed. So this is that experience if you do no customization, and it's a great experience. They can engage with this record, and I have my related, which I can double click in. But you might notice that one of the things that's not on here is activity timeline. That's because all the standard components are available on mobile, except for activity timeline is not available, not supported for mobile. So we have a little bit of a different experience there, which we're going to do some customizing to do a workaround for. So let's say I want to have a customized mobile experience. When I go into Edit Page, and I'll make this big again, here we go. So when I go into Edit Page, I would probably default to desktop here. And so this is my Lightning App Builder page, and this is just that default page because I haven't customized it yet. I mentioned before, right? This is the out-of-the-box opportunity page. But let's say I want to have the opportunity activities available, or some sort of way of interacting with opportunity activities available. I know I've got a great report chart that I have created for my users that's focused on opportunity deals or opportunity activities. So I've got my opportunity activity report made with Lightning reports and my great report chart, and I'm filtering by opportunity ID. Awesome. So let's go ahead and save this and activate our page, because now this is a custom page. So when I'm assigning this page, say as org default, you have a new option that's available to you, and that is the form factor assignment. So now when we create any Lightning page, any custom Lightning record page, we can assign it to desktop, to phone, or to desktop and phone. So for this one, we're going to assign it to desktop and phone. Now I do want to have a different mobile experience than desktop, but I'm going to show you how we're going to do that just from one page. So I've assigned it, I've activated it, I've assigned it to desktop and phone. And so now this chart would show up everywhere, but I don't really feel like my desktop users really need this chart necessarily. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use component filtering to say, I only want this chart to show for my mobile users. So I'm on the report chart component, and on the bottom right, I've selected my component visibility. And in component visibility, I can have a new option to select which form factor I'd like. So I'm going to say, okay, for form factor, I only want to show this when I'm viewing it from a phone. Great. Now, if I want to preview what this looks like, I can see at the top right, I can adjust what my Canvas preview device is. This is really handy if you want to get a feel for where will the particular components that you're adding kind of live on the page. And so you can drag and adjust here if you'd like. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. So now when I go back, I've got my new desktop page, but that does not have that chart. But when I go back to my Lightning on mobile app, or my new Salesforce mobile app, and I open that same record, sometimes I have to refresh it once more, then I will have that on the page. And that's a really handy way to, within one, there we go. Now I've got my opportunity activity report. And what I love about the report chart component on Lightning on mobile record pages is actually I can still use like click into report, and interact with those records, like maybe those particular records, those activity records. So that's how you can use App Builder to adjust. You can have one page and you can adjust that mobile experience for mobile users and for desktop users and really optimize depending on who is engaging with it. So let's jump back to the slides. So that's Lightning on Mobile. That's just a little piece of all the awesome that you can do in Lightning on Mobile. And we've got a ton more content that we're sharing around it. There's a lot that you can do with Lightning on Mobile. But let's jump back to the slides because that's the completion of our demo and talk about some exciting pilot programs. So I always like to share some of the pilot programs. We get really excited about beta features and pilot programs, and it's important to know how you get involved with pilot programs. So in the release notes, if you just search for pilot, or you can always see there's the parentheses where it says pilot, those are all the pilot programs that are current for that release. And the way that you get engaged in a pilot program or see if you potentially would be a fit for a pilot program is to contact your account executive or reach out to customer support, because then you can go through the steps depending on what your org needs are and if that's a feature set that would be useful for you. But pilot programs are a great way to get involved with exciting new features and provide your feedback back to Salesforce. So in Winter 20, we have a survey score component coming to pilot, and this is to show we love Salesforce surveys, and with the survey score component, you can show specific survey score results on record pages. We also have new tools to connect with your customers on different chat platforms and Einstein article recommendations. So there's more pilot programs than these, but these are some great ones to check out if you are using Salesforce surveys or if you're using customer service. Let's also talk about Lightning. So we have been communicating for the last few releases that in Winter 20, in this release, Salesforce is turning on Lightning for all of our orgs. So please make sure to visit that documentation if you haven't already. We've got more info here in the bit.ly, and we'll be sharing that online as well. So it's bit.ly/lightning ready by winter 20. And we've got everything to have you covered to be ready to get all of your users on Lightning, because all of the orgs will be turned on, or Lightning will be turned on for everyone in this release. So just a friendly reminder about that. I'm sure most of you have seen it already because there's been a lot of communications that have gone out, but this is that release. And that's it for my section. And I know that Rebecca's excited to talk about all the ways that you can keep engaged with this release. Back to you, Rebecca.
Thank you. And thank you so much for that demo. That was amazing. So much we can do with mobile. It's going to be, it's really exciting for admins.
I love mobile.
But yeah, we have some time for some more live questions. So I'm excited to pass back to Rachel to give us some questions for our panelists to answer.
Sure thing. Thanks, Rebecca. So y'all, I was getting worried. We went 4 minutes without a question coming in on Twitter, but everybody stepped it back up. So we have plenty of good stuff coming in. Also, Leanne, you do have support in that it is indeed a hamburger.
It's a hamburger.
There's a fun gift to go along with that later when you log on.
Oh, hamburger gift. Nice.
There is a ton of awesome support here for all of these new features, so I know all of our awesome admins are really excited. But I do want to jump back up to Laura talking about security. We had a couple questions here that I wanted to circle back to while we have a few minutes. And the first one is, where can I find more detailed instruction on how I can upgrade to TLS 1.2?
That's a really good question. If you go to the Trailblazer community, there is a super detailed knowledge article. If you just search TLS 1.2, has everything that will be affected by the disablement, every step you need to take, and in which order. So I would head to the Trailblazer community for that.
Awesome. And then building on that, we also have somebody wondering, their Salesforce instance is using TLS 1.3. Is that okay, or should I switch to 1.2?
That's great. You're ahead of the curve even. So TLS goes up to version 1.3 currently. That'll be the next iteration in a couple of years that we will move to as well. So if you're already using 1.3, you don't need to do anything for the next couple of years, most likely. So good job.
Awesome. Ahead of the curve. Love it.
Yeah.
All right, ready for one more?
Yeah.
So user Karen P on our Trailblazer community, thank you again for everyone who's getting engaged on that page. She wants to know, just to clarify for permission set groups, can we assign a user to a permission set group and mute one or two permissions for just that user?
I don't think you can do it for an individual user. I would dive a little bit more into the release notes to check on that, but I believe it's per role.
Awesome. And afterwards, we'll have all of our amazing panelists back in the Release Readiness Trailblazers group answering all your questions and following up if there was any more information to provide, and the same on Twitter. Let's go and give Leanne a couple questions. First one, how do I learn more about the mobile app?
Well, I'm so glad that you asked. So we are really excited about the mobile app and the implications for admins. So we created a mobile video series and a trail mix. And so I've got actually that pinned on my Twitter page. What's the bit.ly Mobile Week trail mix, right? I think it's, anyway, so I will make sure to share it. There's a trail mix. I'm looking at Rebecca because she has a better memory than me. But, and it's also, if you go to admin.salesforce.com, it is all over admin.salesforce.com. If you just search for mobile, we've got updates on how you can go through all of the steps and also earn the new Lightning on Mobile Salesforce Mobile App Trailhead module badge.
Awesome, thank you. So Catherine P. wants to know, does where is this field used show everything including flows and process builder?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Awesome question, Catherine. We will follow up with you on that
Stumped
one.
them. We will follow up. I'm kind of like clicking around right now to check. We will follow up on that one and check and see. Where is this used? I think a lot. Yeah, we'll follow up with the PM Vlad on it. There is a list of what's supported, I believe, in the release notes for where is this used, so we can refer to that. And then if the answer's not there, then we will follow up with you on Twitter or on the community, wherever that question was asked.
You win the Stump the Panel award.
I know, I was like, oh, Shannon, like one of us will.
I have the sticker and everything.
All right, next question. Aaron B. wants to know, will custom utility items be available on the new mobile app?
So if you're asking about like utility bar components, utility bar is not part of the mobile app experience. So if there is things that you're doing in utility bar, I think what would be one option, for example, is to have like a Lightning app page that you've assigned to mobile. If there's like maybe particular flows or particular reports or things like that, I know flows are really, really popular to use in the utility bar. So that's something that if it's kind of a universal flow, like it's not a record specific flow, it's not something you'd surface on the record page. One way to deploy those or make those available to your users on mobile would be to add them to an app page and then assign that app page to the mobile app experience.
Okay, awesome. Hey, Shannon, is Cloud Flow Designer going away?
So, as some of you know, many of you know, Cloud Flow Designer was built on top of Flash technology, and Adobe is ending support for Flash technology in 2020. So and you might have noticed even now in your browsers, Chrome in particular doesn't let you run Flash. Every time you turn your browser on, you have to go in and enable it again. And basically, as soon as Adobe ceases support for it, it's going away. We will be probably turning off access to Cloud Flow Designer in spring. We have reached a point where all of the functionality is available in Flow Builder now. So you can still get to it for now, but it will be going away.
Okay, thanks. Over to Anusha. Will field-to-field filtering work for all fields or just numbers and dates? For example, I'm curious about case owners and created by.
Yeah, so for this release, it's working on numbers. That includes percentage and all those, but percentage currency, and then just date and date time. But we are looking into other options as well. But, we feel like those two are the predominantly more common ones. So we want to focus on that first.
All right, over to Laura. Is there anything I can do to increase the security of my org besides update my existing permission sets?
Oh, definitely. There's so much.
Good question.
Great question. So a few things that I would recommend. Probably the most basic thing is if you're not familiar with Health Check, I would definitely try that out. It's really easy to find. Just go to the Quick Finder. Health Check has a dashboard view of all of your security settings. It gives you a score, 0 to 100, and will really give you a great picture into your security with just one view. I always recommend running this after every release just to make sure nothing's changed, there's no updates. So Health Check, the thing I always recommend to everybody is two-factor authentication. You may be familiar with Salesforce Authenticator. That's our app that we have to support two-factor authentication. I always recommend that everyone enable that. Admins can enable it across their org, so all users will need it. It really is the easiest thing you can do to add the most security to your org. And in addition to two-factor authentication, I always support people implementing single sign-on. This will basically allow, if you don't already have it, this will allow your users to log into using one credential to all of your apps. Salesforce has a single sign-on. It also integrates with other third-party single sign-on vendors. So those three things, Health Check, two-factor authentication, and single sign-on are what I would recommend if you're looking to up your org security.
That's great.
Hey, Rebecca, do we want to take a couple more questions?
Yeah, we can do maybe one long one or two short ones.
All right. Well, I have one for where is this field used? Chrissy W. would like to know, for where is this field used? Is that only for pages, or does it also tell you if fields are in a flow/trigger/code?
So actually, while we were answering other questions, I looked up from the previous question that was similar about where is this field used from, so we could double check on it. And so where is this field used, and this is in the release notes, so the list includes where it's referenced, right? So if you think about what the list is that you're getting, it's everywhere that field is referenced, and what that reference means might be different for different parts of the application. So that's just kind of a clarifier at the beginning. So should I read them all?
Let's hear it.
It's supported for validation rules, layouts, formula fields, visual force page, Apex class, Apex trigger, email template, Salesforce Classic, text-based, field set, flow queries, so that's if it's referenced in a query, lightning component markup, process builder if it's referenced in criteria, and URL button, formula, lightning page, including related list singles, lookup filters, lookup and master detail, and reports columns. So that's the exhaustive list as of right now from the release notes. So to answer the previous question about process builder and flow, it does show up on that reference list if it's referenced by process builder criteria and if it's referenced by a flow query. And then now I forgot, Rachel, did I cover all of the?
That was extensive.
That was pretty extensive. I think if you missed anything, you definitely jump back in. I have the link to the question right here for you.
Okay, great.
And there's going to be a quiz later.
Pop quiz, say those again in order.
All right. One more, or should we call it for today?
Give me one more to close it out.
All right, one more to close it out. Also for Leanne, how do I make apps visible in my mobile app launcher?
Awesome question. So the first place you're going to want to start if you're doing anything with the Salesforce mobile app, go to Setup, and that new Salesforce Lightning or Salesforce on mobile app item at the top of the left tree in Setup, in your Setup tree. Go there because it'll take you through the steps to enable your apps. But if you want, you can just go straight to App Manager as well. So if you have an individual app you want to enable, you go to App Manager, and then on the right you go to Edit for the little drop down to the right of your app list in your App Manager in Setup. And when you're editing the app, if you go through those app kind of builder and customizer steps in that wizard, there is a make available for that same form factor experience that we saw in the app builder. You can do that there as well. So you can say this is available for mobile as a form factor. So that is a great question, and you can definitely just jump in App Manager and go do that, or go through all the setup steps that will help you cover everything in the quick start.
Awesome. Thank you, Leanne. All right, so that concludes our Release Readiness Live. I want to have a big thank you to our panelists, Shannon, Anusha, Laura, and Leanne. Thank you so much for sharing all of this amazing innovation with our awesome admins. Thank you, Rachel, for managing our questions and getting us to answer them live. And thank you, awesome admin community, for taking the time to join us today, making the time to learn about the Winter 20 release and figuring out how you can bring all these innovations to your company. And if you're thinking, oh, I want to learn more about the release, I want more Winter 20 updates, well, we got just the thing for you. Go to sforce.co/learn-more. Yes, that's right, MOAR. And you will find trail mixes, one for admins, one for developers, with more content about the release just for you, all packaged in one trail mix. And everyone who completes this by October 31st will actually earn a special community badge, as well as unlock a donation to FIRST, which is a STEM education program for the youth around the world. So really great way to continue to learn with us. We're super excited to see what you do with all of these innovations from the Winter 20 release, and see you next time in the cloud. Thank you.